Hello, and welcome to Charted, an astrology podcast. My name's James, and today we are going to talk about sect in astrology. Now, I want to clarify, I'm saying sect with a T, not sex with an X. It's two very, very different things. And we're going to talk about sect with a T. So, I've kind of mentioned this, and I wanted to dive into it specifically because in the next episode, we are going to start going through each of the signs and what they represent. And this is kind of the last building block, if you will, of the signs. So I wanted to discuss it real briefly before we move on for the next episode. So in previous episodes, I've kind of mentioned how the signs are either a masculine or a feminine sign. And that's kind of a shorthand, I don't know what you'd call it, a reference to what sect is as far as the signs are concerned. Now, as far as the planets are concerned, sect is a little bit different, but it's for the signs, sect and gender are the same thing. And if you say something is of a day or diurnal sect, or it's masculine, that's the same quality. You're talking about the same thing. Which one came first? I'm not really sure which was referenced first. The best I could understand from kind of looking into it, as they've kind of were always referenced in either case and understood to be the same thing. So as far as I know, we don't have masculine signs because they're day signs, and we don't have day signs because they're masculine signs. They're just simply the same. They're day and masculine, or they're nocturnal and feminine. But why this distinction, right? Why do we even note things that are diurnal or nocturnal? Well, let's discuss this a little bit more. What is the day and what is the night, or what's the nature of them? Well, the nature of the day is when the sun comes out, right? And as a byproduct of that, we as humans, what do? We go out from our home and we work, we play, we eat, whatever. We live. We do things out in the broader world. And so there's two things here that tell us that the diurnal sect, the day sect, should be masculine. Number one, it's ruled by the sun, which we understand to be a masculine planet. Right? Makes sense. It's the light of the day. It's the main light. Number two, this idea that as humans, what we do is we go out into the world during the day, right? Means that our kind of mode of operation, if you will, is to be masculine during the day. Because masculinity, at least astrologically speaking, I would say in a nature way too, to a certain degree, the nature of masculinity astrologically is to project out. It's to move out from the self. And so what we're doing during the day then is we are moving out from our home, moving out from our safety into the broader world. And so that's a very masculine dynamic. And so therefore, the day is going to be associated with masculinity. Additionally, right, if we were to number the zodiac signs, this is something I read, and it's interesting, I guess. I don't know. But if we were to number the zodiac signs, starting with Aries, which we'll talk about a little bit more in the next episode, starting with Aries is kind of the first sign of the zodiac. Well, number 1 is Aries, Taurus is 2, 3 is Gemini, 4 is Cancer, and so on, so on, so on. What we would notice is that the signs we would attribute to the masculine gender or the diurnal sect are also going to be odd numbered, right? Because much like everything else in astrology, in terms of how the zodiac sign is laid out, right, we're not going to put all of the same polarity next to each other, right? We don't put the elements, right? All the fire elements are not grouped next to each other. All the water elements are not grouped next to each other. All the cardinal signs are not grouped next to each other. They all alternate in a pattern. And it's the same with diurnal, nocturnal. So if we start with the day as number 1, that means the nocturnal signs are going to be number 2. and then number 3 for diurnal. And what we'll notice then is that the odd numbers are also associated with diurnal. Now, I don't know if that's a numerology thing. Also, I don't do numerology, but if somebody who does, who's listening, says, oh yeah, that makes sense or something, I don't sure. By all means, throw a comment or disagreement if that's doesn't make sense either. But at least as far as the ancient Hellenistic astrologers, that's kind of how they looked at it and saw odd numbers as kind of being more masculine because they're harsher, more awkward to work with, right? Tend to be more unique in a sense. Whereas the even numbers are always divisible by 2, right? And so you've got a certain harmony to them, which is associated with the feminine dynamic or the nocturnal dynamic. So we've established the odd numbered signs are going to be of the day sect, the diurnal sect, and therefore masculine gender. And because the sun rules the day and because we go out during the day. But what about the nocturnal sect? Can we definitively establish that that works with femininity? And I would say yes. There's, again, back to 2 reasons. Number 1, who's the ruler of the night? It's the moon. And what is the moon about? Well, the moon reflects the light. It's not actually generating its own light. And if you've ever gone outside, especially if you can go outside where there's no light pollution, that if you live in a big city like I do, I actually might not notice this because of the light pollution. But if you can go somewhere with no light pollution during a full moon or approaching or just after a full moon, what you'll notice is the moon actually casts a pretty high amount of light. You can actually see quite a lot during a full moon. It's not like daytime, for sure. It's a very silvery kind of a light. It's interesting. It's a cool experience if you've never experienced it, especially as a city slicker like myself. But yeah, it's interesting. But the night then is governed by the moon because the moon is the only object that can provide light during the night, right? The sun's obviously gone. It's below the horizon. The other thing, much like how during the day we go outward into the world, what do we do at night? We come back in to our homes to go to sleep, to rest, to recuperate, to be with our family, right? Be in our own world, be in our privacy, with ourselves, whatever we're going to do, right? But we go back in. It's that inward projection. And so the nature of us as humans during the day is to move out, during the night is to go back in, right? Really aligns with that idea of femininity, the feminine dynamic. So nocturnal signs or the nocturnal quality is going to be associated with the feminine, at least as far as the signs go. And as I mentioned, right, the feminine signs are all going to be the even-numbered signs, which is a harmonic, right, kind of number, essentially, because it's relatable. You can divide all even numbers by 2. Right, there's this simplicity there. So what we'll notice then, as we apply this masculine, feminine, or nocturnal, diurnal dynamic to the zodiac, is that we'll notice that the fire and air signs will always be diurnal or masculine, and that the water and earth signs will always be nocturnal or feminine. And so we can attribute them as kind of having a base level of femininity in spite of whatever other things they have going on, or masculinity for the air and fire signs. So that's sect as it relates to the signs, right? And why we associate certain signs with, right, being male or female, or day or night, or odd or even. But what about the planets? Well, for the planets, it's a tiny bit different. It's a little couple quirks. Let's start with the luminaries, right? As we already established, the sun rules the day, therefore it's masculine. The moon rules the night, therefore feminine. It's also reflective. We've talked about this a little bit. on the episodes on the sun and the moon. So we'll start with the baseline, right? The sun is masculine, the moon is feminine. Okay, so of the day, of the night. Well, what about Venus? Right, we'll skip Mercury for now. We'll do Mercury last. What about Venus? Well, Venus is a feminine planet, right? It's receptive. It's harmonic, or harmony associated, right? It attracts. So Venus is then going to be feminine, which means it's going to be nocturnal. What about Mars? Well, Mars, yeah, it goes out, it projects outward. And this is, like I said, where we get a little bit of a quirk. But Mars is hot. And Mars is brash. And it's, in ancient astrology, it was considered a very hot planet, right? And so during the day, if we put Mars in the day team, so to speak, the issue is you get an already hot situation mixed with a planet that's red hot. So it becomes overbearing, right? And so the thinking then was put Mars with the nocturnal planets where the cool of the night tempers it so it can operate more cleanly. And so Mars is a nocturnal planet then, or it's of the nocturnal sect. And I'll get to what this means as far as the planets go here in a moment, but I want to describe where the planets line up, right? Moving on, then we have Jupiter. Jupiter's expansive, right? Maybe slightly masculine, but it's much softer than Mars. So we put Jupiter in the diurnal sect, so Mars and the sun. Then we get to Saturn, and Saturn is restrictive. It's a kind of a slightly feminine planet, in my opinion. And Saturn is cold, right? Frigid, dry. And so Saturn, if it was in the night sect, would be too cold, much like Mars is too hot in the day sect, right? It would operate in a place of being too restrictive, too cold. And so they put Saturn in the day sect because there it's heated up. It's not so restrictive, it's not so cold that it becomes difficult to deal with. Then lastly, we have Mercury. And Mercury is true neutral. It floats, it goes wherever it needed. It's going to change sect, change gender, depending on situation, depending on placement, right? So Mercury floats. It can be either or. Now, does that mean with sect, as far as the planets go, that we can equate it to gender? No, not quite. Because obviously Mars is a masculine planet, and Saturn is potentially, arguably, in my opinion, some might not see it this way, a slightly feminine planet. It's very borderline, though. Right? But sect is not about gender as far as the planets go. It's about kind of operational dynamics, right? How strong is a planet? Obviously, if you have the sun, you don't want the sun hidden away. The sun's purpose is to shine its light. So you want it visible. And so what we want then from sect, right? Sect plays into something called dignity. We haven't talked about dignity yet. But dignity shows the strength of a planet, essentially. So when you look at a chart, if you have a particular placement, let's say you have the sun in Leo in the 11th house, right? Which would be a Libra rising, right? Would we say that the sun is strong? Is it capable of doing what it's supposed to do? Well, it's sun in Leo, so yeah, okay. It's a good starting point, right? That would be your first layer of dignity. What sign is the planet in? But an additional layer is, okay, what sect is it? Is it a day or night planet? All right? If you have a day chart, that is the sun is above the horizon, you want to have your day planets also above the horizon, right? Where they're basically being warmed by the sun. You want them on the same hemisphere as the sun. Alternatively, if it's a nocturnal chart, the sun is below the horizon, You'd want the moon and the nocturnal planets above the horizon. Why? Because that's the part of the chart that's night. And so that's kind of where we go with sect. It's a dignity thing. And dignity just refers, you can think of it as planetary strength. How potent is a planet? How well does it operate, or easily does it operate in terms of doing what it's designed to do? For example, Mars is about self-actualization. If you have a very debilitated Mars in low dignity, it means you're going to have a lot of challenge in terms of your own ability to self-actualize. It's going to be difficult for you. You're also likely to run into things, kind of on a more fate type level, that are more difficult, that are harder to deal with because of that Mars. It can cause trouble. Does that mean you are incapable of self-actualization? No, at no point. It just means that the base nature of it is a little more challenging. You have to find ways to do things that aren't as natural for Mars. The natural state for Mars, right, Aries or Scorpio, is to kind of just go out and grab things. Aries in a very direct manner, impulsive manner. Scorpio in a more, right, strategic manner. But to get things. And it understands how to get those things because it's set up to do that based on those signs. But when you have Mars in debilitation, right, in poor dignity, that's where it becomes, I got to do it in a way that's a little more awkward. It's a little more uncomfortable. It's not the natural way this planet does things, right? Say Mars in Libra. Mars in Libra has to learn to get things for itself by working with and through other people. That's a very awkward way to self-actualize, but that's how it operates. Anyway, let's kind of ramp back in towards Sect. So Sect, as far as the zodiac signs goes, deals with the masculine and feminine dynamic of the signs, and the fire and air signs are going to be masculine or diurnal, and the water and earth signs are going to be feminine or nocturnal. As far as the planets are going to have teams, the diurnal planets being the Sun, Jupiter, and Saturn, with the nocturnal planets being the Moon, Venus, and Mars, with Mercury acting as kind of a floating either or. And where those planets are on a chart will add into their overall potency, depending on whether you have a night or a day chart, which again is just based on where is the sun in your chart. Is it above the horizon or is it below? And you want the day planets on the same horizon as the sun and the night planets on the same horizon as the moon, or preferably on the opposite horizon as the sun. So that is Sect. I hope that clarifies. Like I said, I really wanted to kind of dive into this more for the sign part of it, because that plays into what we're going to talk about next week, which is we're going to begin looking at each of the signs individually. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for listening. If you are looking for a professional astrologer, get a birth chart reading. I also do relationship readings. Reach out to me. You can email me at james@jdastrology.com, or you can just go to my website, jdastrology.com, and book from there. So again, hope you're having a wonderful summer. Stay cool, enjoy it, and thank you for listening.